It was a dark and stormy night, and Susan was driving home from a long road trip. She had just gone through a rough breakup with her boyfriend and was feeling emotionally drained. As she was driving, she noticed a police car behind her with its lights flashing. She pulled over to the side of the road, her heart pounding in her chest. The police officer approached her window and asked for her license and registration. Susan handed them over, trying to stay calm. But as the officer looked at her documents, he began to leer at her in a way that made her skin crawl. "You're a pretty little thing, aren't you?" he said, his voice dripping with slime. Susan tried to laugh off the comment, feeling uneasy. "Thank you, officer," she said politely. The officer chuckled and handed her documents back. "Sorry, I couldn't help myself. It's a tough job, being out on the road all the time. It's nice to see a friendly face every once in a while." Susan forced a smile, relieved that the conversation was taking a turn for the better. They chatted for a few more minutes about the weather and the traffic. But then, the officer's demeanor changed. "Listen, I don't mean to be forward, but I was wondering if you'd like to grab a coffee with me," he said, his voice dripping with innuendo. "I know this little diner down the road that's open all night. I think you'd like it." Susan's heart sank. She knew she had to be careful with how she rejected the officer's advances. "I'm sorry, officer," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "But I'm not really interested in that right now. I've just come out of a long-term relationship, and I'm not ready to start dating anyone." The officer's face darkened. "I'm not asking you to date me," he growled. "I'm just offering you a good time. You don't want to disappoint me, do you?" Susan's stomach turned with disgust. She tried to remain calm and politely decline the officer's advances, but he just laughed and leaned in closer. "I'm not taking no for an answer," he said, his breath hot on her face. "You're coming with me, whether you like it or not." Susan knew she had to think fast. She spotted a small opening in the officer's car and saw her chance. She lunged for the door and managed to escape, running as fast as she could through the rain and darkness. But as she ran, she could hear the sound of the officer's footsteps behind her, getting closer and closer. She could feel his breath on the back of her neck as he grabbed onto her arm, spinning her around to face him. She could see the madness in his eyes, and she knew that he would stop at nothing to have her. Susan fought with all her might, struggling to break free from his grasp. She managed to land a punch to his face, causing him to stumble backwards. She took her chance and ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't stop running until she reached a gas station, where she called the police and reported the incident. When they arrived, the officer was gone, and Susan was left alone, shaking and terrified. She never knew what happened to that officer, or if he was ever caught. But the memory of that night stayed with her forever, a reminder of the dangers that lurk on the dark, empty roads. Make sure you subscribe to Scary Stories for new videos every single day.